Up 192 units over the past 365 days, Ralph Michaels and Akeem Profit sit at number 1 and number 2 in NBA profit combined. Sitting in number 1 is Ralph Michaels at 107 units, and right behind him in number 2 is Akeem Profit picking up 86 units. For a limited time, you can get 7 days of NBA picks from both Ralph Michaels and Akeem Profit for only $69, coming out to less than $10 per day or less than $5 per day per handicapper. This special discounted price includes all NBA client releases over the next 7 days, including any rare 5% NBA best bets, generally priced at $35. You don't want to miss out on this 2-for-1 from our number 2 and 1.
Hey guys, welcome in on a very happy Friday to you now, the 11th of November. Woo, time is flying, and we have ourselves another huge weekend of college basketball coming up. Looking so very forward to it here, not to mention great slate of games today. We're going to break down a few of the more popular ones, and we're going to do it, of course, with three of the most popular college basketball handicappers at wagertalk.com, as he is back in the chair, Mr. Adam Trigger, fresh off his Canisius scalping of tickets there. Always pleasure to see you. Ralph Michaels and his pen in the chair on a Friday, as is. Steve, 2 R's, 1 L, Merril, back at it for another week of college hoops. Guys, gentlemen, welcome in. Been a great first week so far, learning a little something about these new teams, new coaches, new players. What about you, Trig, here? I know you are ready to roll here tonight, I believe, in college basketball. What do you got at wagertalk.com?
Yeah, it's been a crazy first week. I'll admit, Joe, a lot of stuff this week has not gone the way that I expected it to with some of these teams, but it's really early in the season, and we got a long season here. I have a 4% college basketball play that I'm going to give you on this show for free. 4% college football goes tonight. That's up on my page. 5% winner with the Panthers in NFL last night. Basically led wire to wire there. So football's been great. Hopefully basketball follows suit. You can get my college football play on my page. I'm going to give you the basketball one for free.
All right, Sid. Great opportunity here, guys, on this first full week of college hoops. Ralph Michaels just saw the great opportunity with you and Ski there on the promo before the show. What do you got ready to roll here, either tonight or this weekend at wagertalk.com?
Well, football's going great. NFL's going incredible. Football totals 14-1 run.
Woo.
I do have a play up tonight, which I loaded on Monday. It was almost a 5% for me, a college football total. Still $9 because it was a Monday release. Take care of that. And if you're looking for a longer-term package, Ralph30 is the code to take 30% off anything $299 or higher. So a 30-day, a 60-day, or a 12-month package, code Ralph30.
Oh, I love it, guys. Hop on board here today. Steve Merril knows a little something here about what a absolutely beautiful time of year it is right now, Merril. Fresh off your scalping of tickets at the William and Mary. Oh, that's right. They give you the box, the owner's box. I forgot about that. But what do you got? What's on store here tonight and this weekend for you?
Yeah, I might have to sell the tribe so I can buy the Washington football team, the Commanders, who are on the sale block now as well. And, I went to the game last night. They played Mid-Atlantic Christian from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. They won by 76 points. I think that'll get them ready for their trip to Virginia Tech on Sunday. That's the William Mary tribe I'm talking about. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. By the way, real quick, happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. Always keep a flag handy on the desk, but I brought out the big boy today. Brought out the giant flag for Veterans Day. So, honestly, a special thank you to everybody that has served and is serving. Comment below. Let us know if you're a veteran, so we give you an extra thanks in the comment below here on the show today. And, Yeah, you talked about it's a great time of year, Joe. 4 major sports going almost on a daily basis right now. College and pro football several days a week, NBA, college basketball every day. What a great time to get an all-access package. And I've got an instant $15 discount, not $59, get it down to $44 for a 3-day all sports. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, pretty darn good time to get a 3-day, and you get an instant discount right now. Promo code FBALL3. All the information is on my page right now, SteveMerrillWagerTalk.com.
All right, guys, no reason not to make it a very profitable Friday heading into this weekend. We're going to start with game number 1. I mean, who doesn't love basketball on an aircraft carrier? It doesn't get any better than this here, as the Zags will be taking on Michigan State here. 11 and a half with the Zags. We're seeing a total of 142 and a half here. And boy, that is plummeted from the 147 and a half I saw a couple of days ago. The reality is this is going to be fun, but kind of a new look and a new start for both of these schools here, Trig, with Mark Few and the Zags and Izzo and Michigan State. Who are you giving the edge here to tonight?
Well, Joe, let's keep it real. I'll address the total first. That obviously got hit by a group that's pretty respected, that's far more accessible now than it used to be. And it moved at about 6 points. And I'm not saying that I disagree with the move, but I'm certainly not going to bet the under at 142 when I could have got 147 or 147 and a half a day ago. As you said, it's on an aircraft carrier, which is I'm a huge fan of the idea of the event. I'm not a fan of playing meaningful college basketball games outdoor on an aircraft carrier. Certainly, we've seen these games in the past go under, which is probably why there's love for the under here. But again, I'm not going to take it at that number. It's way too low. What I would look at, however, is Michigan State. If points are going to be at a premium, then I think you have to look toward the points here. Now, Michigan State, the Big Ten, in my opinion, is down overall. You can go check out the guide on Ralph's page. I think we talk about that in there. That the conference is a little bit down from the top teams. But I think Michigan State's as good as some of these other teams, or has the ability to be as good as some of these other teams near the top of that conference this year. So for me, this isn't a game that's going to make my card, but that seems like quite a few points, especially considering the way that this game might play out, that it might be a little bit sloppy. If this does go under, then maybe Michigan State hangs around here. It's hard to believe that Gonzaga just – I mean, listen, it's Gonzaga. They could roll and win this game by 25, and I don't think anyone would bat an eye. But I lean toward it being more of a messy type game, and for that reason, I would take the points here.
All right, looking at grabbing the points here. Ralph, what do you think coming into the season here with these two teams? Double digits for a different-looking Zags team here this year against Michigan State. How do you approach it?
Yeah, first off, Adam, thank you for writing up some conference previews. They were awesome. The Wager Talk guide he's talking about still available on the page. Still a lot of great information. wt.buzz/RN. It's 100 pages. First time I've been on this show with Adam, and I'm actually going to agree with him. I will also say this. It's the first time for a basketball game I had to go to the weather report and see what the wind was like. Izzo actually commented a few days ago when they practiced, it was sort of windy. The wind for this game is under 6 miles an hour, so it's going to be a beautiful San Diego day. They're, of course, playing on the USS Abraham Lincoln in beautiful San Diego. I like the over. Since the wind was not an issue, Gonzaga was one of the fastest-paced teams last year. They scored 104 against North Florida. Yes, it was North Florida, but they still played 9 guys over 6 minutes. And while you lost multiple starters that are in the NBA, you replaced them with, the SoCon Player of the Year and Efton Reed, who started all 29 games at LSU in a very difficult SEC conference. So no loss there. Michigan State, we think of Izzo, we think of that defense. But you look back and historically, it takes his defense time to gel. His defense is playing better in February and in March. Last year, in fact, Michigan State 19-14-1, 58% to the over. They have 2 great guards, and when you have 2 guards that can handle the ball against them like Hoggard and Walker, they put up 73 against Northern Arizona, and that was with shooting 9 of 27 from 3-point land. I expect them to shoot better out here in this game. So, I think I didn't get to the window with this. And, the first number I wrote down was like 148.5. And I'm like, no, there's not value. But I actually think as this game has dropped, there's value. As far as the side goes, I really don't have an opinion. I think Michigan State, if anything, can keep it close the first half. I think the depth that the Zags have, they may pull away in the second. But my official lean, not a best bet on this game, will be on the over.
Yeah, it's a new era here, really, for both these teams. They still have size, though. Do the Zags here? Maybe a little bit more than comfortable for Michigan State here, Merril. But Ken Palm had this at around 8. We're seeing 10.5s here, 11s in the marketplace. So what gives here for you?
Yeah, guys stole a lot of my thoughts, though, but I agree about the wind. That is something, as Ralph said. They commented during the shoot-around, the practice sessions, I guess, yesterday, that there were some windy conditions. So we'll see how that plays out. But one thing I want to bring out also about the aircraft carrier, just playing outside in general, is the sight lines. We talk a lot about this when they play the Final Four in those huge arenas like the Alamo Dome, or football stadiums, basically. You don't have the normal sight lines, especially in the three-point shots on the sidelines. You've got a lot of depth back there. And you're basically looking into the ocean and the outer space here, kind of like my backdrop today when they're taking shots. Now, the Michigan State guys commented they've grown up playing outside all their lives, a lot of New York natives, etc. But still, these guys are fine-tuned, three-point shooters in the gym. So that's another reason I do think we saw the under get hit. It does make a lot of sense. If there's any kind of wind whatsoever, that's a huge issue. But I just think the sight lines in general are something that people forget to factor in. With that said, that does favor Gonzaga because they want to play extremely fast and they won't have to rely on the three-point shot. And they normally don't rely on the three as much as other modern college basketball teams. And getting back to that North Florida game, as Ralph mentioned, they put up a lot of points easy. But what really jumped out to me was the pace of play. In fact, they got their average possession was less than 13 seconds. It was about 12 and a half seconds. That's the fastest of any game so far this year in college basketball. So that is the concern with the under here, that if Gonzaga plays as fast as they did the other night, they could really pull away the pace and really make this up scoring. And that also would favor them to cover the double digits. So if I had to play it, probably rather take one of the best teams in the country here. Michigan State's not quite at that level. And keep in mind, Michigan State played above average tempo last year as well. They were slightly above the median average as well. So I think they will run with them. Three-point shooting won't be as much of a factor. And keep in mind also with Holmgren in the NBA now, I think Gonzaga can actually run even easier. So we'll see how fast the Gonzaga Bulldogs want to play tonight. But if that's the case, that 6-point move to the under maybe did take a lot of the value out.
So it's not like anybody's got a whole lot of experience with handicapping aircraft carrier games, but I believe it was 10 years ago, 2011, 2012, they had a couple of games. The totals landed 122 in 2012, and Syracuse, San Diego State in 2011, 111 points. So we'll see if these two teams can get a hell of a lot more. I'm just saying. It's not like we got a ton of experience. We're just saying we had some low-scoring ones a decade ago. All right, we'll go game number 2 here tonight. We're going to take a look at Pitt and West Virginia here. 135.5 in this one. 2.5 is the spread right now. This is going to be 7 o'clock Eastern time here, Ralph. Tell us, Coach Huggins here, and taking on Pitt. What do you think we're going to get? What kind of game is this for you?
Well, West Virginia has dominated. I think they won 5 straight. Line open 1, 2.5 to me. I even think I might go to 3. Pittsburgh's best player, John Hughley IV, is still out. So, they played well against Tennessee. Martin Blankenship led the way with 27 points. West Virginia's starting with a lot of new guys, too. Only one starter from their team last year is playing in this game. And Huggins did talk about how, again, I just mentioned it, how defenses take a little while to gel. But this team is playing well ahead of where his other teams have played this early when he's had new teams defensively. With that said, West Virginia, they allow 58 to Mount St. Mary's. They did press the tempo. Mount St. Mary's actually shot 10 of 21 from three-point land. So they only shot 23% from two-pointer. and they shot 47% from three-pointers. So you look and say, well, did West Virginia's defense play well? Well, I think Mount St. Mary's just did an exceptional job making some threes. I can't get to a side with either one of these. I like Pittsburgh's teams this year. I think they're going to bring a couple guys in that they like, and they have two returning starters again, but both of them banged up here with Hughley being out. I'm going to look at the under. Pittsburgh did not rush the pace against Tennessee Martin. They were a very slow-paced team. Last year, they were one of the slowest-paced teams. So the more I looked at this, the more I almost liked the under. It almost got close to being on my card. It didn't make it, though, but a clear lean with me. Best bet type potential on the under.
All right, looking at the under in this one. How about it, Merril? Which way are you leaning here between Pitt and West Virginia?
Yeah, I agree with Ralph with the under. And Ralph, right as you just said that, looking at the Wager Talk live odds screen, no joke, the circa just dropped a full point. It was 135. It just went to 134 a minute ago. Not kidding around. So Ralph Michaels honestly moves markets still in college basketball. And this was 138 when it opened. So we'd already seen some sharp money on the under to 135. And the board is honestly lighting up right now as we're doing this show live. So, Ralph, I'm with you on the under there. One thing I'll point out about that first game for each team, you mentioned that Pittsburgh outshot Tennessee Martin 11 three-pointers to 3. They took 41 threes, but they only made 26.8%. So they're relying heavily on the 3. That could be a problem. If they're hitting those tonight, it could get over, but I don't think their shooting's quite there yet. They only hit 36.5 for the game, and against West Virginia, they're going to struggle. And the West Virginia defense gave up 21 three attempts, and Mount St. Mary's made 10 of those, 47.5%. I don't think that gets repeated tonight. So West Virginia held them to 58 points despite allowing 48% shooting from 3. So I do think this West Virginia defense could be really good right now. Pittsburgh did play at one of the slowest tempos, 332nd last year out of 358. I like the under here, and you better play it now because it is honestly dropping as we speak.
Yes, yes, it is. Across the board here. Trig, what are you thinking here? Total, side, who are you favoring in this matchup?
Well, as far as the side is concerned, I would have loved Pitt as a home dog here if Hughley was in. As Ralph mentioned, he's likely out. That's probably the reason for the move up to 3. I think I still lean Pitt. I like the pieces Pitt brought in. Nelly Cummings from Colgate. I'm right around the corner from the Colgate campus now. I've gotten to see him play in person. I think he'll be a nice addition there. Blake Hinson from Iowa State. So Pitt could sort of be better than market expectation, but West Virginia has a chance too as well. I read something that Bob Huggins said about his team last year. Basically, just said his team gave up last year. Around January, February. So big time roster overhaul on West Virginia. It has to be a breath of fresh air to anyone that's still there now that there's a team that seems to care, which was, according to Huggins, was not the case down the stretch of last year. And even with that being said, West Virginia still wasn't bad. So both of these teams are teams that I kind of would want to look to play on if possible. But I'm not going to play on Pitt with Hughley out. And I guess I agree with the guys that with him out and so many moving parts and sort of new roster or new people in the mix for both teams, I wouldn't be surprised to see sort of a sluggish game here. So I'll lean with the guys here. I wouldn't be surprised if this one stayed under. Looks like a sloppy game. Neither team's got things fully figured out yet. So, yeah, we could see this struggle to break 130.
All right, looking at the total across the board here and the under. And be interesting to see what these guys think of this last game we'll break down here tonight. 10:30 Eastern Time tip. It's San Diego State taking on BYU here. 11 is what we're seeing. 10.5s and 11s there for San Diego State. The total, 139. Interestingly enough, I saw 135s in this, and boy, oh boy, they like the over with a San Diego State team here, Ralph. What the hell gives? How you looking at this?
Well, that wasn't me that bet that. There's no way I would. San Diego State, a top 20 team, do they deserve it? Well, hell yeah. I mean, you turned 7 seniors. You were the Mountain West Conference champ. You have the Mountain West Player of the Year in Matt Bradley. You have the reigning Defensive Player of the Year in Menza. you are, I think you're 24-1 your last 25 games at home. You're off a very solid win against Cal State Fullerton. BYU, you got 3 new starters. You're playing a freshman guard, part-time at point guard, against Idaho State. Oh, yeah, by the way, you win by 4. You shot 3 of 16 at home from three-point land against Idaho State. Again, San Diego State was close to being a play for me. I didn't get there just because San Diego State has Stanford on deck and then Ohio State. And I could see them trying to expand their roster because they're going to need a little more depth against those 2 teams. So I didn't want to lay that against the BYU team that we know, because you take Mormon missions, you're older. Even though you're playing young kids, even though you have some sophomores, sometimes those sophomores are 21 years old. So it's not the same as playing a different type of young team. That was enough to keep me off of it, but clearly an opinion on San Diego State.
All right, leaning towards San Diego State here. Problems at point guard this early in the season, Trig, for a BYU squad worry me with turnovers. The Aztecs are going to put a ton of pressure on the guy handling the ball. Kind of hard to look at BYU here, or is it for you?
No, it's hard. I mean, normally that's the case I try to make. I'd say, okay, 11 points. Okay, how do I sort of make a case for this side, knowing that more of the action is on San Diego State? But Ralph kind of touched on it. I mean, this is actually a very young BYU team, especially by their standards. There's not a ton of legitimate experienced guys that are going to be on the court for this team this year. And you know what? The other thing I've noticed with their roster is I don't think they've got the shooting that they had in years past, where they can just kind of hang in games because they've got 5-6 guys that can just knock down the 3. So I think that might be an issue for BYU as well this year. San Diego State, I mean, Ralph said top 20. I'm almost willing to say easily top 10. They're one of the best teams in the country. Not only do they have the defense, they've got a couple guys. Ralph mentioned Bradley. The Trammell from Seattle comes in. Believe he averaged 16, 17 points per game for Seattle last year. They've got scoring. They've got defense. Maybe this is the year that San Diego State makes a big-time run in the tournament, but they're really good. I'm not going to bet against San Diego State here. I think there is a clear gap. Listen, BYU, same thing as every year, right? You get the WCC projections, and it's always Gonzaga, St. Mary's at 2, and then BYU's grouped in with them. Sometimes BYU is warranted in that top conversation. I think they're third in that conference, but there's a pretty big drop between them and Gonzaga, St. Mary's this year. So I like San Diego State here. I don't know if I can stomach laying 11, but I would look towards San Diego State. I just think they are the far superior team in this case.
All right. Thinking much better team here, Merril. Is it clear one-sided for you, or are you looking at the total? How are you approaching it?
No, San Diego State's the play here, and it opened 9. It's up to 11, but it's probably not high enough still. And you mentioned the point guard issues, guys, and 23 turnovers at home against Idaho State. And now they're going to play the team that was the second most efficient defense in the country last year out of 358 teams on the road for the first time as well. They're a 23.5-point favorite against Idaho State. 60-56 was not a good showing. Meanwhile, San Diego State also a 23-point favorite against Fullerton, and they won that game by exactly 23. Now they've only got to win by more than 11. I like teams that have good momentum at home early in the season. I know they do have that game at Stanford, as Ralph mentioned, but it's still not till next week. So I think they have plenty of time to get ready for that game on the 15th. And they want to get off to a 2-0 start. And I believe BYU's won the last 2 in this series, if I'm not mistaken. So we got some revenge as well. I agree with Adam. I think San Diego State is actually underrated at top 20. This is probably a top 10 team and definitely going to be one of the best defensive teams in the country again. So at home, with momentum, good defense against a team that's got point guard issues on the road for the first time. San Diego State or pass for me in this one.
All right, San Diego State or pass. 10:30 on that game here, guys. Loaded slate across the board here today in college hoops. Welcome back. Another full weekend coming up. Now would be the time. If you head over to wagertalk.com, you heard Ralph talk about the opportunity that he's got for you right now. All 3 of these guys have opportunities for you to hop on board, partner up as we head into just an absolutely fantastic time of year. college hoops, NBA, college football, NFL, the NHL. There's so much going on in the world of sports. Now would be a fantastic time to make it a very profitable time of year. Visit Ralph Michaels. Visit Steve Merril, 2 R's with 1 L, and of course, Adam Trigger, ready to roll, including best bets here tonight, guys. As far as best bets on the show, Ralph, start us off here, my man. Which one of these games, or any game for that matter, might you be leaning towards a little more than the rest?
You know, Steve and I were on with you Tuesday, and Steve said this is probably the worst slate of college basketball games we've ever done a show on. Yeah. It is so nice to have a legitimate slate with true games and top 20 teams playing each other. So thankfully the basketball schedule is here. Joe, we did a video Monday. I gave you one of my actual client releases. It was a winner. On Tuesday's show, I gave you one of my actual client releases. It was a winner. I'm going for a 3-0 run, and I'm not going to break that streak. I'm going to give you an actual client release here. Don't worry, guys. I will get to my 300 teams in the Ken Palm ratings once they start getting a little more volume under them. But I am going to go with Virginia, and I am going to lay the 3+ touchdowns. And really, it's one of the rare instances where we have 5 returning starters against 0. Virginia is the number 1 team in college basketball, returning 91.4% of their scoring. After their game against NC Central, they talked about allowing a 12-0 run and allowing NC Central to shoot 8 of 19 from 3. But more importantly, this Monmouth team is very young. They played Seton Hall, and they had 23 turnovers in a 27-point loss. Well, let's see. Are we going to see 30-plus turnovers? We very well may for Virginia tonight. So game number 706. It's an actual 3% client release. Virginia minus 23.5.
Virginia minus 23.5 to get it done. Love it. Tony Bennett ready to roll here. How about you, Trig? Where is the game on the card you're looking to back tonight?
Well, I'm going to first, Joe, I'm going to plug the guide one more time. Go over to Ralph's page. Yep. We all wrote up conferences because it segues into my best bet. One of the conferences I wrote up was the Pac-12, and one of the teams that I sort of hyped up in my write-up on that was Stanford. I'm high on Stanford this year. They've got a lot of guys returning, and some of the players they've brought in have upside. One of them showed his upside in their first game. Michael Jones from Davidson went for 31 points in the win over Pacific, and we should see Spencer Jones tonight. He's one of the best players in the Pac-12. He did not play in that Pacific game, but I'm hearing that he probably plays here. This game is in a baseball stadium, Joe. It's in where the Brewers play. So that should be interesting, but I don't think that's going to, it's a regional type home game for Wisconsin, but it's still a neutral site. I don't believe Wisconsin's ever played at what formerly was Miller Park either. So Wisconsin's a team, another one of those Big Ten teams that I think is going to kind of be a middling team this year. They were so lucky last year, Joe. In my opinion, Johnny Davis bailed them out every single time they needed a basket. He's no longer there. Brad Davidson's no longer there. And really what it comes down for me is I think Wisconsin lacked some of the talent that they've had in years past. I know they're still well coached. They're still going to compete in the Big Ten. But you've got Chucky Hepburn at point guard, who I'm not totally sold on. And I'm just not willing to lay, I don't buy Wisconsin as a top Big Ten team. I even think they might finish in the bottom half of the Big Ten. I do like Stanford. If there's a team that can press the top 3 or 4, it's this team. So, give me the 5-point Stanford Cardinal. I think they're very underrated, and I will not be surprised at all if they beat Wisconsin outright tonight.
All right, looking for a victory here to get it done. Should be actually a really good one there. Talk to us here, Merril, as far as a best bet. Which game are you leaning towards here tonight?
Yeah, going to get to a free play for college basketball Friday night. Once again, happy Veterans Day to everybody out there. Enjoy the game on the aircraft carrier tonight, but we're going to look at a different game on the West Coast at 10:30 Eastern. I'm going to look at that San Diego State BYU game. Quick reminder, though, college football is here. I've got my top 25 video Friday night, NFL Fade the Public video Saturday afternoon here on the channel. Hit subscribe, hit the bell for instant alerts when those videos go live. And don't forget to check out my page for an instant discount on a 3-day all sports, all access package. Get on board Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Get every college and pro basketball, college and pro football best bet every day with the special promo code SteveMerrillWagerTalk.com. Okay, let's look at the late game at 10:30 Eastern tonight on the West Coast. Going to go with San Diego State minus the 11.5. I think they're improved from a pretty good team last year. I think BYU, meanwhile, is down a notch. This game was played last season. The point spread would have been a lot lower, so I know the adjustment has been made, but I'm not sure it's enough, especially early in the season. This line opened to 9. It's now up to 11. Sharp money came in on San Diego State early. I agree with that move. BYU struggled in their opener on Monday night at home. They were a 23.5-point favorite against Idaho State. They only won by 4. It was not misleading. They could not score. 37% shooting from the field. Had struggled hitting the three-pointers, just 18.5%. The biggest thing, those 23 turnovers in that game, and they forced 22 turnovers. Just keep in mind, if they don't force 22, which they're not going to do against San Diego State, by the way, they maybe lose that game outright. Now they're on the road. Young point guard problems, turnover problems, lack of shooting. It's a bad recipe against San Diego State, who was the second most efficient defense in the nation last year out of 358 Division I teams. San Diego State minus the 11 goes at 10:30 Eastern tonight on Friday. And don't forget, 3-day all-access promo code on my page right now. Special offer, SteveMerrillWagerTalk.com.
All right, good stuff there. And don't forget our friends from the Gold Sheet. They, too, have a best bet. If you haven't had a chance, guys, to head over to goldsheet.com, please take advantage of it. Always great handicapping information, analytics ready for you, including great write-ups across the board on all sports there and all games, just like this one here regarding the Zags and Michigan State. In fact, the Gold Sheet play today is the Zags. They'll lay the points. This is a great write-up, and of course, we'd encourage you. You can visit Ralph over on his Twitter page at CalSportsLV. He'll post this for you so you can read it in its entirety, guys. Make sure you visit goldsheet.com. All right, Ralph, I am going to go with an under here tonight, only I'm going to focus on a big rivalry. Clemson, South Carolina here tonight, 136. I think it's 135.5 right now. I'm going to go up and under. It's a new era in South Carolina for sure. Clemson, we know what we're going to get with that, and that's going to be a pretty darn efficient offensive team, and they are going to make life miserable for a team that doesn't defend the three all that well. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of scoring in this game at all. I'm looking at the under tonight between Clemson and South Carolina. And the recap one more time, guys. Yeah, yes,
hey, Joe, let me just jump in.
Sure.
And let's not forget for Clemson, P.J. Hall is out still for the first few games of the season.
Yes.
So you take your best offensive player and you're missing him in this rivalry, adds an extra boost to you. Sorry.
Yeah. Big, they got a new coach there, too. Should be interesting with South Carolina coming from Chattanooga. We'll see if he can get it going. And your Ohio State kid actually transferred in there, too. Michi should be good. Virginia, minus 23.5. That is not a football. That is actually basketball, guys. That is where Ralph is going here tonight for a best bet. Trigg says, screw you, Wisconsin. He's going Stanford, and he will take the 5. While Steve Merril says, San Diego State. Too much of a mismatch for him against BYU. He's laying the 11. And, of course, South Carolina under 135.5 for me. And the Gold Sheet, the Zags laying the 11.5 tonight against Michigan State on an aircraft carrier, 6 p.m. Eastern time. A little bit of an early start there, guys, too. Make sure you check that out. Should be an awful lot of fun. And also, make sure you visit all three of these guys over at wagertalk.com. You got Ralph Michaels there. You've got Adam Trigger ready to roll, and Steve Merril. It's going to be a monster night, not to mention a huge weekend in college hoops, guys. Partner up with all three of these guys, and let's make it a profitable start to the season. And on behalf of Trig, Steve Merril, 2Rs, 1L, and of course Ralph Michaels, guys, we appreciate it. We're excited to have college hoops back. Hope you'll come back and join us again on Monday. We'll do it all over again. We'll get a little recap, and of course, we'll start laying out the week ahead. Until then, best of luck with all your plays tonight and this weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Good luck.
Up 192 units over the past 365 days, Ralph Michaels and Akeem Profit to that number one and number two in NBA profit combined. Sitting in number one is Ralph Michaels at 107 units, and right behind him in number two is Akeem Profit picking up 86 units. For a limited time, you can get 7 days of NBA picks from both Ralph Michaels and Akeem Profit for only $69, coming out to less than $10 per day or less than $5 per day per handicapper. This special discounted price includes all NBA client releases over the next 7 days, including any rare 5% NBA best bets, generally priced at $35. You don't want to miss out on this 2-for-1 from our number 2 and 1.